Grange Art Museum in the CLC, or the Creative Learning Center. We want to thank the Art Museum staff and the Executive Director Laura Jennings for allowing us to use this facility today. And my name is Alex Hughes. I'm the Government Records Archivist at the Troup County Archives. And I'm here with my colleague Lewis Powell, who's the Research Archivist at our archives as well. Today we're going to be cooking what, Lewis?
We're going to be cooking an orange fool.
An orange fool, yes. So quite an interesting thing. We'll have a little bit of discussions, I think, as we go along about the history of this particular dish. And this, actually, the ingredients here and the recipe comes from Mount Vernon, which we will share along with our video in the comments and all. And want to do that. But we'll start out today. There will be 2 cups of heavy cream, and we're going to actually go ahead and get that started. Go ahead and start heating it.
I'll reach over you and grab the eggs. All right, so we're going to crack 4 eggs, and we already have the 2 cups of heavy cream that are warming.
Yes, and so we're actually going to scald the heavy cream, and you can do it from a medium to low temperature. And you do want to stir the entire time to ensure that you're not burning it.
Now, just as a bit of explanation as to what an orange fool is, this is an 18th century dessert, and essentially a fool is just an egg custard. So in this case, this is egg custard with orange included, and often in the 18th century they would prepare these with a variety of fresh fruits.
And just as the only political note we'll make today, just because of the history of this particular recipe within the last few years, Mount Vernon did do this recipe, a live cooking demonstration as we're doing, and there was some pushback on the video because of the former presidential administration. So we, of course, are making no intentions or statements today by that. Yes. Here's your whisk. All right.
And these eggs are light, or beaten until they are light. So this will take a moment.
And you know, this was a favorite of George Washington's, and so it was made quite a bit at Mount Vernon, and there were a number of enslaved cooks in the kitchen at Mount Vernon.
Yes.
One of which is included in the reason that we're doing this today. Our current exhibit at the Legacy Museum is known as Gather Around the Table, the Culinary History of Troup County. And so in that exhibit, you can actually see the enslaved contributions to cooking and to food in the Americas and also in Troup County. And Hercules Posey is one of the enslaved cooks that is featured in the exhibit, and he was the cook of George Washington's. George Washington purchased purchased Hercules Posey from John Posey right before the Revolutionary War. So this would have been something that Hercules himself would have cooked.
All right. Now, once the eggs are beaten until they are light, we need to add a 3/4 cup of sugar.
And we're also going to add a little bit of orange juice. We'll add 1 cup of orange juice. So I'm going to go ahead and just measure that out. I'm also watching my heavy cream at the same time. Okay, add that in. Very much ends up having a citrus flavor to it.
And of course, as Ina Garten always says, if fresh isn't available, store-bought is fine. Of course, the enslaved people making this originally would not have had a store to purchase this from,
yes,
so they would have had fresh squeezed orange juice. And most certainly, oranges were not exactly widely available in colonial America. Only the very wealthy would have had access to oranges and most other citrus fruits, which would have been grown down in the Caribbean and had to be put on boats and then shipped up to colonial America.
Exactly.
And also, once we've added the orange juice, we'll also add a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. This is a fourth of a teaspoon of cinnamon. Do we have any? Oh, okay, we'll just dump it in.
Oh, it's exactly measured already. There we go. We're not professionals at this, so we're just going at it as we go.
And then also an eighth of a teaspoon of nutmeg. And these are also ingredients that in colonial America would have been very rare. The nutmeg would have come from the Spice Islands, now known as the Moluccas, and that is in what is present-day Indonesia. In fact, I believe it was the Portuguese who took over the Moluccan Islands. They took over specifically so that they could have access to spices such as cloves and nutmeg, and in fact ended up killing many of the native people in that area simply to get access to these spices. Cinnamon also comes from Southeast Asia, and there was also quite a bit of strife in the Europeans getting access to this as well. So make sure everything is blended together very well, and we are still waiting on this
Yeah, we want to give
cream
a few more minutes and we'll be
heated.
ready here. Let me grab something from us here and we'll start to slowly, you want to slowly take your heavy cream that's been scalded and good right here. Pop that off.
And then we'll temper the heavy cream into the egg mixture. And you want to make sure that you're stirring as you're adding it very slowly. Otherwise, the eggs will begin to curdle.
I certainly don't want that in there.
And just make sure you're stirring very rapidly as you're doing this.
It's smelling really good already. Who's the gentleman on the Food TV network that says, you know, smell-o-vision?
Is that Elton Brown?
I don't think so. You need to get, you know, contact your local cable provider and get smell-o-vision because it smells really good. A few seconds there, let's just stir that for a minute. A little bit more about Hercules Posey too, who would have cooked this. Hercules actually ended up running away from Mount Vernon, and Hercules and his children, the lady with whom he had children, was in the Martha Custis estate, and so was actually separated, or was a separate legal entity from George Washington's enslaved people. So even though George Washington did free his slaves at the end of his life and his will, the Martha Custis estate would be separate. So his children were enslaved while he was free. All right, we're pretty much going to put the rest of the heavy cream in there and blend it well. And what we're going to also do here next, now we're going to get started, is we want to segment, just run our wires here, we want to segment an orange. So you'll want to cut off the ends, obviously, of the orange before starting to segment. And I'll tell you that we cheated here and have our executive director segment the orange before, but we'll go ahead and cut this one up and maybe eat it afterwards. And essentially what you're going to do here, and what Lewis will continue to do, is continue stirring, and you want to do that really until it cools. So that once you put it in the fridge for a few hours, it will gel together.
And you can eventually let up on the stirring and,
Yes,
and
obviously.
just let it
Constant
sit
stirring
and cool and just stir it occasionally. And then once it's cooled, to serve it, you would put it into a cup and then fold in the segments of the orange. And then you will want to have it chill in the refrigerator for about 2 hours before you actually serve it. And then you can also reserve some segments of the orange to put on top. And we do have one of these that has already been prepared. Okay.
Let's try this thing.
And so we'll give it a try.
Here we go. All right, well, once again, we want to thank the LaGrange Art Museum for allowing us to use this space. We hope that they'll continue to partner with us so we can bring you some of these historic recipes. Maybe next time we'll focus on a meat or a side dish rather than a dessert, but what better way to start this segment and this series with doing a dessert, right?
Yes.
So we want to thank you for joining in, and until next time,
Cheers.
cheers.